What it is, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the weekend show, in which we'll talk to you guys a little bit. Maybe if we get some people tuned in, we'll do Q&A for one part of the show today, see what you guys want to talk about. Maybe we can talk about guests that are being pitched to my show that you might want to see. Today we have big news, big show. Last Saturday, we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, because Trump attacked her last Saturday. Today, we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, because she's going to quit. She's giving up the fight working for the U.S. government. So I want to know what you guys think in the chat. There is division amongst people on the right between people who support her and hate her. So the leading hater, of course, is Laura Loomer, but there are many others, many who are sympathetic to Israel's interests. So we'll talk about that. We have to talk about where the GOP is going from here. We'll talk about midterms. We'll maybe talk about 2028. And what is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to do next? I speculate in the title that maybe she'll be joining The View, and that maybe her media tour convinced her that she wants to work for mainstream media now. She went on with the ladies at The View, and she went on with CNN during her tour complaining about the attacks on her by Donald Trump. So I'll play you a little clip of her on The View in case you missed that. She left a video. It's about 10 minutes long, so I don't know if we'll watch the whole thing. And she left a letter, a 4-page letter, for the reasons for her resigning. She says Republicans are going to lose. That's one reason she's quitting. She says Republicans are going to lose in 2026. So you guys have to tell me what you think of that, and what the reasons are, and whether you care or not. And we'll talk a little bit about polls today. A little bit. Donald Trump put out a truth today saying his polls are better than ever. So I want to show you that and see what you guys think. So big show. We are back to exclusively the format people have said they prefer. We're no longer broadcasting in vertical mode. So we'll see how that goes. That means everybody's here in the same place, in the same chat. We might get a lower head count total, but we want to create the best experience for everybody. And then we'll just put out YouTube shorts in 9:16 format. Jonathan Burnham says, can we all agree we do not have a serious country government? $38 trillion debt. Yes, she says the left and right are the same thing, basically, and that it's never going to change. It's a very pessimistic account of what's happening with the government. And it's basically she just gave up, which I don't necessarily respect her more for. Basically, she just gave up. She says, we're going to lose. Trump's going to get impeached. And what does it matter anyway? The government doesn't care about people. There's news today that we're going to overthrow the government of Venezuela. So I'm sure that's something people didn't vote for Trump to do. So we have to talk about that a little bit. We might talk a little bit about the economy and so forth. So thanks for joining me for the show. Good to see you. If you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. I'll read off the coffees I've gotten that I forgot to read off yesterday before the end of the show. You can go to Cash App at $LTV411, and you can buy our t-shirts, which are on closeout sale, liquidation sale at Truth Revolution Clothing. That's truthclothing.io, which I will show you right now. Those shirts are $10 and $5. You can call it Black Friday. Get them while you still can. These shirts are in stock. Super high quality cotton, last forever. Screen printed here in America, not drop shipped from some digital printing company where it fades right away. These are high quality t-shirts that should sell for like $30 or more. So check them out. Get them while you still can. Get them while we still have your size. Apparently, we still have some Doshi shirts. For those asking about Doshi, he's no longer with us. I've seen a few comments. I don't want to just reply and say Doshi's dead, but he is. So for people catching up with the show who hadn't seen me for a long time, welcome back. We are trying again. We lost this channel during COVID. We're broadcasting on the other channel till earlier this year, then took a long time off. Now we're back. We're doing live streams 6 times a week. We're putting out shorts now. So welcome back. Make sure to tune in regularly. Make sure to contribute to the chat. And if you want to support the show, that's great too. So we will try to grow this channel. All right. So welcome to the show. And I will play our intro and get started. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman, and I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, we bring you the real news almost every single day. So we have a tweet from Trump. She quit after pushing to release the Epstein files. So, and being critical of Israel. And being critical of H-1Bs. Donald Trump hates Marjorie Taylor Greene, it seems like. I'll read his truth about her today. He hates Thomas Massie, who some people think are the best members of Congress. And he doesn't like Rand Paul either. So those are my 3 favorite people in government. So MTG is quitting. Speculate on what she's going to do next. I think she'll probably work for TV. She's quitting 2 days after she secures her lifetime pension. So after 5 years serving in office for the government, apparently you lock in a pension. So it's a little bit self-serving. Her letter was a little whiny, I think. And like I said, I'm not super impressed that she gave up in government, right? When she actually accomplished something. Without her and Massie, we arguably would not have the Epstein files. Many people are still claiming that it's 4D chess. Many people still trust the plan. Yeah, and they say, like, I saw that black guy from ESPN. They say it's a boomerang, that Trump just suckered Democrats into pushing for the release of the Epstein files so that Trump could finally release them, then expose all the Democrats. Somebody released a searchable version of everything that's been released so far. I believe I have that. There are lots of names in the Epstein files. So once they come out, there's 30 days before the Epstein files come out or have to come out. But even then, they could decide to redact a lot of things. They could decide that they don't want to release things because there's an ongoing investigation and so forth. Shelley, wow, look at that. We are looking to broaden the appeal of this show, probably. So we appeal to people who may not be traditional Trump supporters. It's very interesting, actually. I was never particularly politically affiliated. In fact, when I started my live streaming, I talked about conspiracy theories, hoaxes, false flags, and I attracted people who ended up supporting Trump. And I talked about Epstein. I talked about ritual abuse, satanic ritual abuse. And the people who were into that kind of thing were mostly people who ended up supporting Donald Trump and the people who followed QAnon and trust the plan. Now, maybe things are a little different because Democrats who were never concerned about those subjects before and considered them conspiracy theories, like Pizzagate, for example. I'm probably saying all the wrong keywords here for the algorithm. But we talked about Pizzagate, right, which was a Democrat conspiracy. And any video I put out, I was going through my old videos with Pizzagate in the title, regardless of whether I was talking about it or not talking about it or saying it was fake or saying it was real, they all ended up being banned from YouTube. Anything I debunked, QAnon, did a lot of research into it, tried to expose who was behind it, and made a bunch of videos where I said QAnon exposed, QAnon debunked. But the way the old YouTube was, all of those videos have been permanently deleted. Now, I don't think I can just re-upload them or anything, but I was on the other side of it. And just because they're old AI, which maybe wasn't as sophisticated, they just looked like for certain keywords in the title and deleted those videos forever. But because of what I covered, like I said, and then Epstein too, Democrats didn't used to care about it, but now they do. I say all of that because Shelley in the chat says, I'm more of a Democrat now. And that is probably not that uncommon, not totally uncommon. Shelley, do you like AOC? Or which Democrats do you like? I'm curious. I assume you've been following me for a while. So I'm curious what motivates you to say that you like Democrats now. But one of the things about Nick Fuentes is that probably is that the youth don't really care about party or have allegiance to party anymore. They don't care if Republicans win in 2026. In fact, they might want them to lose just to see them suffer. So we're undergoing some kind of political sea change right now. But in the meantime, under 40s, over 50%, I showed you a poll, sympathize with socialism. The House just passed a resolution denouncing socialism, and a bunch of Democrats supported it, denouncing socialism, which I don't think is wrong, but actually might kind of backfire on them because socialism is popular and kind of gaining in popularity. And the number one socialist in the country, in terms of popularity, just visited the White House and got a very warm welcome, loving glances from our commander-in-chief. Zohran Mamdani, the jihadist communist, anti-Semite, and I'm saying those things ironically, although he is kind of a communist, just got a warm welcome in the White House. And I mentioned on yesterday's show that a lot of Republicans cost of living, affordability. How do you solve affordability? Well, even Republicans now are saying the government has to do it, which actually isn't a small r Republican, Ronald Reagan kind of solution to things, that the government needs to intervene to make prices lower, unless you're talking about cutting tariffs. That's about the only way someone like Ronald Reagan would talk about lowering prices, probably. Drilling more oil, reducing regulations. These are things that are small r Republican ways to reduce the price of things. Regulations, cutting tariffs, which make prices higher for somebody, either the corporations or us. And what was the other one I said? Can't remember. Those things are actually conservative values. Democrats will have the government pay for things, punish big businesses or landlords by doing things like freezing rent, raising taxes to redistribute wealth. So people who have less money take money from people who have more wealth than them. In California, we're considering a 5% wealth tax, which is completely unbelievable and I believe totally unconstitutional, where billionaires have to give up 5% of their assets, even if they haven't made money on them yet. So if they have a stock portfolio that's worth a bunch of money, but they haven't sold the stocks or realized a gain or anything, they would have to sell stocks to pay. It's a confiscation, which taxes are kind of anyway. But that's being proposed here in California. That's the kind of thing Democrats like. But because Republicans don't have a solution besides letting the free market do its thing in a traditional Republican way, people are going to be leaning towards Democrats and socialists because they're going to suggest things that the proletariat like, which is like stealing money from rich people, killing billionaires and eating them, etc. Nick Fuentes says that the right and left should unite, that the left needs to give up on immigration and the right has to give up on free markets, which Zoomers don't see any benefit from. The government is run by corporations right now, and the future will be even more run by corporations because of AI, because these massive companies will just have to redistribute their earnings. In somebody like Elon Musk's view, Elon Musk says we're all going to be rich. Well, but we're all going to be unemployed too. We're all going to be rich, but we're all going to be unemployed, which means that he makes all the money and then gives it out for free, or everything becomes free, basically. We are in the in-betweener stage where we have something like capitalism now, and even big tech, which was created by capitalism, theoretically, is talking about communism in the future. So somehow we have to transition from one to the other without massive pain and death and destruction. So here we are. Brother Zygos says, I'm for the smallest government possible. Republicans grow the government even more than Dems. Yes, Trump does not believe in small government, clearly. Although they are getting rid, I mean, they have cut a lot of jobs. To be fair, I always want to be fair to Donald Trump. They're eliminating the Department of Education. So that's a start. They did try to do Doge, but then he kicked out Elon Musk when nobody liked it. All of our money is basically spent on things that are socialist anyway. And Donald Trump and every politician always runs on the idea that they're not going to cut your Medicare and they're not going to cut your Social Security. Well, those are the things that are going to bankrupt us: healthcare and Social Security, and the military, and the interest on the debt. So we're insolvent, actually, as a government. Like we would have to declare bankruptcy. The only way we have out of it is we print our own money, because money isn't real anymore. Don Whiffen says it will be a socialist utopia. Yeah, that's what Elon Musk talks about all the time. So what are we supposed to be? Tech bro podcasts who are invested in AI and stand to gain from AI and from not having employees all say life is going to be wonderful because all our needs will be provided for. So I'm just based on a history of like capitalism and the struggle and evolution, like actually how we're made from our DNA. I think that's a very difficult form of happiness. I believe happiness comes from struggling. Like we're designed to get hungry and then kill something and eat it. Men, at least. Women are designed to find a man that kills things, and then they collect things like berries and stuff, to put it in a simple form. And then they pop out babies and we protect them. And that's just how we're designed. It takes hundreds of thousands of years to change our biological programming. And the economic programming or program is set to change like overnight right now. We're going to go from capitalism to communism, or we're all going to starve because we won't have employment, in my estimation. The tech bros, the podcast bros, they say new jobs will be created. And JD Vance says that actually we'll make more money with the robots. But I don't believe it, based on my estimation. But historically, that's true. So I don't want to totally discount it. But I just don't see what people are going to do that robots can't. So thanks, John. Why did you use an AI thumbnail and not just a screenshot of the actual human for your thumbnail? I did feed it the actual screenshot. It maybe changed it a little bit. I can't tell you how frustrated I am working with AI. The very simplest thing it can't do. I use it to help me with my thumbnails and my titles and my descriptions to maximize click-through rate or what have you, because I'm trying to grow my channel. And I use it to generate YouTube shorts, which I wasn't able to do on my own. And it's very impressive technology, but it's very frustrating. I went through a conversation the other day. It can't make it in the right format. And it often changes images. When I feed it a real image, it'll change it to an AI image. So I'm sorry about that. Just trying to do a good job to get people tuned into my channel, because the show is better when more people are tuned in. And I'm hoping to be able to take phone calls, which was a big portion of the show back in the day. But I calculated that I need like 140 people tuned in at least to get phone calls. That was my math, at least. And we're just not there yet. We're still a harmful channel according to YouTube. So maybe when we reapply for monetization and get that harmful label removed, they'll push us more in the algorithm. So I could show you my conversations. I literally ask it over and over again. Give it to me 16:9. Give it to me 1280 by 720. And it just fails every time. Every single one of them. I'll create an image and I'll generate it in Gemini. It'll screw up the aspect ratio. And because it never fixes it, then I feed it to ChatGPT and it kind of fixes the aspect ratio. Then I end up going to Grok. It's incredibly frustrating. It just seems so basic. I don't understand why it's so retarded. But I don't want to go back to, well, I'm not going to pay for a Photoshop subscription. I still have a photo editing program. It seems like maybe it would take me less time to use it. I heard Photoshop uses AI too now. But I can't afford $50 a month or whatever Photoshop costs. Harry says, try Nano Banana Pro. Yeah, well, that's what's in Gemini right now is Nano Banana Pro. And the promise of it is good. It's good in many ways, but unpredictable in many ways. And it can't fulfill simple requests like aspect ratio. Even though I ask it a million, I'll prompt it. And it'll apologize and say it's sorry and it's stupid and it failed me. But I don't need apologies from a machine. I don't like have emotions toward it or anything. But it still helps. It's still cheaper and less human intensive. And the thing I'm using to make shorts is very impressive technology. And I actually imagined it in 2023 and pitched it to Rockfin. I said, hey, what you need to do is use AI to automatically cut out interesting parts of a show and repost them because it was too hard and time intensive for me to do. And now the software exists through AI. So, John, I already mentioned this. MTG waiting until January 5th so she could get her pension. Yeah, it seems very self-serving. And I assume she's going to go on to make more money in an easier way. All right, let's talk about MTG. She quit. Let's play some of the video and I'll comment on it. The only problem is it's 10 minutes long. So let's play the video, see how interesting it is, and I'll comment on it. But it might be a little too long to maintain attention span in this age we live in. Here's MTG's statement.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties.
She's reading, first off. So she has some kind of teleprompter. What do you guys think? Would you hit it? To ask us to be sexist, which is popular now. We're supposed to be more misogynistic these days. Would you hit it, guys? I would, sure. I heard a rumor about another content creator who's been on this show before. I heard a rumor he hit it, but I'm not going to say who. She cheated on her husband, apparently. Some people say she's a whore, but I don't say that. I don't really know. It's none of my business.
Election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher.
Nothing ever gets better. You hear that? It's a very pessimistic view of government, considering she just accomplished something that wouldn't have been accomplished, arguably, without her, just as one person, because it was one vote that changed it. So it's disappointing, I think, because I think she would have won her primary. I would have been very interested in it. I think Massey's going to win. He's won before when he was challenged. He has Jewish money up against him, and now he has Trump up against him. But he's won, he's dominated in his district. And I think that she would have won. And she just made a big difference by signing that petition in Congress. So to get the Epstein files out. But she says things are never going to change, basically. Very pessimistic view.
Corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts. American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first.
So she says all things that are true. But once again, they don't have to be true. There is a political revolution going on right now, which she would be a leader in, which unites left and right. And she seems to be reaching out to the left a lot of ways. She cares about cost of living. She wanted to do something about healthcare. And she's right that our money is funding foreign wars. And now apparently we're going to overthrow the government of Venezuela. But it doesn't have to be that way. We live in a democracy, theoretically. Theoretically, we can vote, and those people could no longer be in charge. Theoretically. So just after making a change and just after there's been a major revolution against foreign interests, specifically Israel, and then the release of, and a major fight against corruption, which would be the release of the Epstein files, she says things will never change. I don't like to think that.
I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly resulting in the House not working for the entire time. And we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day.
Do you guys think they're going to fight health? I mean, Republicans have one chance. They can actually do something to make things more affordable. But the problem is with funding Obamacare, that's just a government subsidy, more debt, more deficit spending, more feeding into a program that's broken. But they'll probably, I don't know what they're going to do. They're planning to vote on it. Everybody's going to be talking about affordability, but are they going to do something about it? And what is that thing going to be? And will events actually preempt them? Because are things just going to crash? Because we'll actually go into a recession and prices will naturally kind of go down. Like the price of oil has been going down because we're probably going into a recession. And I suggest maybe a depression, which might solve the pricing problem. Not going to solve the healthcare problem. Not going to solve the Social Security problem or the Medicare problem. In fact, it'll probably make them worse. And then it's not going to solve the government revenue problem, because if people all lose their jobs, then the government won't collect tax receipts. But those are just a few thoughts.
My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media, obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years. They actually do their own grocery shopping and no food costs too much. Their rent has increasingly gone up and up. They have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. They have been laid off after being forced to train their visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love, because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia.
Okay, I think that's enough. Well, she's saying things that are popular right now, particularly among the youth. She could instead lead a political movement. Maybe she's going to run for president. Maybe that's what she's getting ready for. What I propose in the title is that she's running to be out on TV, which is probably a much more enjoyable job than being a congressperson, and then having to deal with probably like death threats from Trump supporters. So she's kind of taking the easy way out, as far as I can tell. If she runs for president, though, that's not the easy way out. That's a difficult thing to do, and you have to take all the abuse. Running for office is difficult. You have to take a lot of abuse. So she's bailing out of that. So how will she continue to push the ball forward? Nunyan says she is being threatened with a phony tax evasion or some sextortion. Maybe that's the blackmail theory of politics. W. Birkin says she and Massey would be a good ticket. Absolutely. I think they'd be pretty popular. But everybody seems to, not everybody, many, I am on Twitter every day. Many still will take the president's side on things and say that Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene are traitors. Here's a just something on what she said. People have more credit card debt. It is amazing how much leverage is in the system right now and how much debt people have. And I read a few posts about people falling behind on their bills in corporate real estate, in credit cards and in car payments. This is a chart that shows credit card balances and credit limits. And almost every chart you look at of credit is like this. Whether it's leverage in the stock market, leverage in cryptocurrency, debt in home loans, debt in college loans, the charts all look like this, up and to the right, to where we're at the maximum point of all time, the most debt ever, the most credit ever, which typically that can lead to an even more spectacular crash when people have more leverage. People who are into cryptocurrency will tell you, don't use leverage because you get liquidated. People have all been pretty safe taking home loans because real estate always goes up. And if you can't pay your bills, you can just sell for a profit. But what if real estate actually goes down, which some people are talking about now? What if BlackRock, who's been buying all the houses, planning to rent them for high prices forever, what if BlackRock or somebody who owns a bunch of homes suddenly isn't making any money on them, and suddenly the values start going down? Well, that they would just liquidate, and that could cause a spectacular crash in the housing market. This is credit card balances versus credit limit. It shows balances are at the highest ever at 1.2 trillion, all-time high. And credit limits are 5.3 trillion. So that's how much more spending people could do on credit. At an average, if I heard 21%, I believe, on credit cards. She was talking about credit card debt, so I thought I'd show you that. I'll show you what Trump says. Oh, this isn't even the full tweet. It says show more. Damn it. He calls her Marjorie Taylor Brown. That's a joke because her last name's Greene. I guess he's comparing her to Duty. Because of plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a primary challenger with a strong Trump endorsement where she would have no chance of winning, has decided to call it quits. Her relationship with the worst Republican congressman in decades, Tom Massey of Kentucky, also known as Rand Paul Jr. because he votes against the Republican Party, did not help her. Then he goes on to say it was because he wouldn't take her phone calls and she was calling him all the time. At the end of that Truth Social post, he says, oh, but I appreciate her. And it's good service. Here's his video about it.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene?
Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, just stupid person named Massey. And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived the primary. But I think she's a nice person.
Are you willing to forgive?
He thinks she's a nice person now, but he's still calling her names. And he thinks actually Massey is worse, which I don't know. He was on Theo Vaughn. Thought he did a good job on there. He's probably going to go on Rogan. He seems to be very popular, Thomas Massey. I imagine he's probably more popular with young people because he doesn't want foreign aid. He doesn't like Israel that much. And those are our popular ideas. He's not that into immigration, although I don't know if he talks about it that much, but to me, Massey's the best. So in the sense that there must be other people who think the same way I do, it seems to me that the Republican Party is being dismantled between various factions. Now, I see them arguing with each other on the internet. There are a lot of people who like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. And then there are a lot of people who love Trump, no matter what he does. But he actually hates Massie worse than MTG. And Massie is actually a genius. MTG is kind of dim, but she has the right thoughts. And she's actually gotten better over time. She used to be into QAnon, but at least she moved on from that. But she used to believe in QAnon. There are old interviews. I mean, she's not necessarily super bright, but she seems to be on the pulse. We'll see what she does. I think actually it'd be a great idea for The View to hire her to actually diversify the opinion on there. And mainstream media seems to like hiring conservatives. When they do hire conservatives, they seem to like it if they're conservatives who actually disagree with Donald Trump, which she does. So I can see her appeal. And she's been going around on CNN and The View. I'll show you a little question from The View just to like see how she interacted with these guys. Trump attacked her for going on The View. Let's see if this is, yes, it's working. Let's hear this. This was the most popular part of this little segment, so I'll play it for you.
Very much want to do that. So Marjorie, conservatives were criticizing you for coming on this show. I think you mentioned it already, that there were a few, and you called them, quote unquote, I believe this is you, mostly weak Republican men. So would you like to name names?
Well, I think there's a lot of paid social media influencers. And I found it very interesting that they were the MAGA accounts, but they're all paid. And they all attacked me when I announced I was coming to join you ladies on The View. And I think that's very weak and pathetic. But when I talk about weak Republican men, I'm pretty much talking oftentimes about the leadership in the House and the Senate. And they're not getting our agenda done. And I've got so many bills. I have a bill you guys in New York would love. It would end capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home. So if you've owned a house for a long time,
We used to have that.
we need it back.
Yeah.
But I can't even get it to the floor for a vote without Mike Johnson approving it to come to the
Do
floor.
you think Mike Johnson should come on this show?
Absolutely, I think Mike Johnson.
He has a I guarantee his answer would be, I've never heard of that show. I don't know what it is.
Brief them.
I know nothing.
You know what? Thank you. Thank you for coming on with us today.
having
We
me.
appreciate it. We appreciate it. Our thanks to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
See, they really liked her on The View. Whoopi really liked her, the way she said thank you. They treated her a lot better than they treated RFK's wife, who went on there and they abused her. I can't remember her name at the moment. But they really abused her when she came on. And she did a good job defending herself. But yeah, I mean, it's speculation. I put it in the title as clickbait, kind of. But actually, I think it might happen. I mean, that's what people do when they quit the government. They work for TV. That's what Matt Gaetz did, right? Matt Gaetz works for Newsmax, right? So, and he's kind of based about Israel, at least. Okay. Now let me show you this. This was the stunning post of the day. Tweet of the day from the White House based on Donald Trump's Truth Social post, where it says, I have just gotten the highest poll numbers of my political career. I have just gotten the highest poll numbers of my political career. Well, what is he talking about? I'm just curious. Is he the king of gaslighting? Does he think he makes words and creates reality? Are there some kind of polls that nobody else knows about? Because I can play you the reporting on polling. Here's from CNN.
Net approval rating. Well, take a look These are all November polls. The best one of the group puts him at 14 points underwater. That's the Marquette University Law School poll, tied for the worst he's ever had in that poll. Fox, 17 points underwater. Maris, 17 points underwater. The Reuters Ipsos poll, 22 points underwater. And then taking the cake, the AP North poll, 26 points underwater. When your best poll has you still 14 points underwater, you know it's truly bad, and it's as bad as 26 points underwater. We're talking about an average well underwater with the deep blue sea, swimming with the fishes.
And now this is
Okay. So his polls are like the worst they've ever been. All the public polls. They're actually the worst they've ever been. He says they're the best they've ever been in his political career. Like, what is that? I don't like, nobody understands. How can you say something that's completely the opposite of reality? Unless you're literally trying to change reality with the things you say on Truth Social. And then the White House tweets it out. He has the worst numbers ever. The only time, definitely in his second term, and I think they might have been a little worse in some polls after January 6th. But comparing to that, that's how bad it is. Fox News has him at 38%, 38 to 60 or something. Oh, the polls are fake. The polls are fake. Well, I don't get it. The best poll in my political career. Like, what does that even mean? He says people don't fully appreciate what he's done for the economy. Well, yeah, that's because prices have gone up. That's because tariffs didn't do what you said they were going to do. At least not yet. He says we have $21 trillion in investments. That's not true either. He says it over and over and over again. $21 trillion, he says. We've had a few hundred billion because people wanted to have lower tariffs on themselves. Some more might materialize, but they're not commitments. They're not signed contracts. And then he says we have the highest stock market ever, which again, young people don't care about because they can't afford stocks. Boomers, yeah. People have 401ks, yeah, they like it. They look at their 401ks and they feel good. But those have been crashing lately. In my estimation, they'll continue to. But I admit things like that are unpredictable. But careful putting everything on the stock market when the stock market can turn around in a hurry, and it has been. And anyway, all the growth is from AI, which isn't human centric. Here's another video about how he's doing with independents.
Independence, Trump's net approval rating with independents. Back in January, he was close to even. He was at -4 points. Not great, but not terrible. Look at this number, 43 points underwater with independents in the most recent average of these polls. When you are 43 points underwater with independents, you know you're doing terribly. You can't win with this. If this holds for next year's midterm election, wave adios, amigos. Goodbye. See you later to that House Republican majority and that Senate Republican majority, very much in danger as well. When you take a look at the Pew Research validated voter survey going back to last year, he was basically even among independents with Kamala Harris. Now he is 43 points underwater. Whatever he is doing with independents, it ain't working. They despise him at this point.
That is just a colossal drop.
Oh my God, it's a 40-point move.
Okay, that's a
independents. Trump's.
So they are a little dramatic. Independents don't like what he's doing with immigration, where they did before when he said he was going to get rid of the criminals or the worst of the worst. Now they don't like it because he's deporting people who also aren't criminals. I'm not saying he's wrong to do that, but independents don't like it. Nobody likes the economy, even Republicans. So for him to come out and say, I just got the best polls ever in my political career. Well, he'd have to show us. Maybe they're doing independent polling for him. You know, they have private polling, sure. But I mean, there's like 6 or 7 polls that all say the same thing. He's the king of gaslighting. And anyway, he says no foreign wars, but we're talking about going to war with Venezuela. We're just murdering people. We're literally just murdering people who we suspect of crimes. And that's what those Democrats were saying, who came out and said that people shouldn't follow illegal orders. I thought maybe they were talking about National Guard being in towns and stuff, going into Chicago or what have you. But I guess what they were talking about was that they don't follow orders to blow up boats, which they haven't shown the evidence for what's on the boats. And anyway, if it's drugs, it's not fentanyl. It's like cocaine. And it's not even going to America. It's going to Europe in a lot of cases. If it's going anywhere, these boats don't have the range to make it to anywhere near America. And then the people who have survived have just been repatriated to their countries. They haven't been arrested or anything. Like, he's insane. Like, if we're going to overthrow Venezuela, which apparently we're trying to do, probably just for the oil. They have the largest oil reserve on earth, apparently. Apparently the oil's not super nice. It's not as tasty as the oil from the Middle East. It's not as sweet, like light sweet crude, but it's a lot. And we just need a favorable government so our corporations can get in there and dig up the oil, and we can collect taxes on our corporations. I assume that's what he wants. I mean, that's what Venezuela has. They have a ton of oil, the most. And then they have a socialist government. But this is like the old days when we just used to overthrow left-wing governments, replace them with right-wing governments. It's no different. And even Trump said about Iraq, he was like, we should have taken the oil. Okay, well, I mean, that's what we did in Iran. They got rid of whoever was in charge so that they could bring in oil companies. British Petroleum, I think, took over the oil companies in Iran, I believe. Or some big British conglomerate. So, how is he different? How is he not the same? I mean, yeah, I appreciate it. We took the people out of Afghanistan and he hasn't started any new wars. But he's obviously trying to start one with Venezuela. I can't imagine who voted for that. On the other hand, he has brought in more, we have created more native-born jobs while he's been president. And the jobs that have been lost mostly from foreigners. And that's a positive development. On top of that, he's kicking out Somalis in Minnesota because they've been involved in Medicare fraud schemes, I believe. This was his Truth Social post. Minnesota, under Governor Walz, is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. I am, as President of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from. It's over. President DJT. Now, I read it's not all the Somalis. It's a group of Somalis who are involved in Medicare fraud, I believe, like a Medicare fraud ring. When I lived in LA, I think that's what Armenians were up to in LA. because they came to try to buy cars from me, and often they have like medical equipment businesses. I believe there's a lot of fraud in government healthcare. So that's a positive development, I suppose. Getting rid of the Somalis that are doing fraud on us. That's the problem with importing loads of foreigners. Is some of them try to take advantage of our generosity, basically, by stealing from us. And then our wages go down because of illegal labor and H-1Bs. Pyro Justin. Armenians are up to all sorts of shit in California. Yeah. Where is it? It's not Burbank. I can't remember the city where it's like Little Armenia. But I remember those guys. It was just always a little shady. They always had like multiple cell phones. That was the thing I always noticed. They would have like multiple phones. It's like, what do you need those for? There's always something shady going on. But I don't want to be racist. But those Somalis, if they're committing fraud, get rid of them. And the Department of State put out a long tweet thread saying that mass migration poses an existential threat to Western civilization and undermines the stability of key American allies. Today, the State Department instructed U.S. embassies to report on the human rights implications and public safety impacts of mass migration. So apparently we're going to get involved in other countries' immigration concerns because of things like grooming gangs, amongst other things. So the Department of State says mass migration is a human rights concern. Western nations have endured crime waves, terror attacks, sexual assaults, and the displacement of communities. U.S. officials will urge governments to take bold action and defend citizens against the threats posed by mass migration. Officials will also report policies that punish citizens who object to continued mass migration and document crimes and human rights abuses committed by people of a migration background. These issues have plagued cities of Western nations for years. In the United Kingdom, thousands of girls have been victimized in Rotherham, Oxford, and Newcastle by grooming gangs involving migrant men. Many girls were left to suffer unspeakable abuse for years before authorities stepped in. In Sweden, an Eritrean migrant convicted of raping a 16-year-old girl was allowed to remain in the country after a judge ruled that the incident was not an exceptionally serious crime and did not warrant deportation. In Germany, 9 men, several of whom were migrants, were convicted for the gang rape of a 15-year-old girl. A German woman who insulted one of the rapists online was given a harsher sentence than the perpetrators themselves. U.S. officials will now scrutinize policies in Western nations that give leniency to migrant crime and human rights abuses, or that create two-tiered systems that prioritize migrants at the expense of their own citizens. The United States supports the sovereignty of our allies and calls on governments to constructively engage with the growing number of citizens concerned about mass migration. The United States stands ready to assist our allies in solving the global crisis of mass migration. And I believe even the Pope, who is sympathetic to immigrants and doesn't like what ICE is doing here, says that we should be able to control our borders. So, I mean, especially with AI coming and replacing menial work eventually, like with robotics doing jobs that people don't like, we need to get rid of illegal immigrants who do those jobs before they become a drain on the system. Right now, they're kind of helping us out. And I don't know what's going to happen. They showed the job sites in Charlotte, North Carolina that are all vacant because ICE is there, or the DHS is there, or the Border Patrol is there. I don't even think it's ICE. I heard it's not even ICE. I heard it's Border Patrol because they're meaner than ICE. That's what I hear. And Trump likes that. They're breaking windows, dragging people out of cars. Apparently, Trump likes that. That's what I heard. So they use Border Patrol instead of ICE. But like, I see lots of videos of empty construction sites, which is good in a way. But Americans have to be ready to do jobs that they didn't do before. So, thanks. It is Glendale. That's where all the Armenians are. Glendale. They all drive black Mercedes and BMWs, pretty much. Not to generalize, but they pretty much do. BMW of Glendale, I think, was one of the biggest dealers in Los Angeles. But people have to be ready to do the jobs that the illegal immigrants do now, like picking strawberries. But farmers are going to have to pay them more, and then prices might go up. It's very complicated. Mainstream Republicans never did anything about immigration forever because they like it, because it reduces the cost of labor. Who's going to pick our strawberries? Who's going to pick our grapes? Who's going to take care of our children? Doctors, nurses. I'm sure it's bringing down the value of a medical degree. Apparently, we have. Now actually, it's kind of a stereotype that your doctor is going to be Indian. I assume they work for less than Native American doctors used to, relatively. Even though apparently Indians make the most of any racial group. Indians, then Asians, then white people. Apparently they make more money than us. But it can't be bringing in more people to do work that used to pay a lot. Probably doesn't raise wages for Native Americans. But Native Americans are going to have to do, like, native as in born here, citizens and stuff, multi-generational Americans, white or any other color. They're probably going to have to learn how to do some of these jobs, like construction, and hopefully get compensated for it. But it's fascinating to see that construction sites are completely empty when Border Patrol comes to town. Kitchen staff. I don't even know if you can work for a restaurant if you don't speak Spanish in the back. It's all white people in the front, typically, especially in, I think probably in like Texas and stuff too. That's my experience. It's like white people in the front, waiters, greeting staff, managers, and then brown people in the back. And they speak Spanish to each other. R563 says, you think you're going to get rid of 50 million illegals by being nice? I don't know how. Maybe you have to pay them to leave. Maybe they have to self-deport. Yeah, make it impossible for them to work. That's the one thing they've all refused to do. Make it impossible for them to work. It can't be that complicated. Fine employers for hiring illegals. They don't really do it. You could have a much stricter check system where they have to go through a computer. Fine employers. They're just not willing to do that because of capitalism. And actually, the problem with libertarians, kind of, even though I count myself as one, is they kind of believe in that. Free markets. Free markets is kind of like open borders too. Free movement, etc. You get to choose where is best for you. Seek out your... And immigrants have contributed a lot here too. It's very difficult. Ellen Barker says, back in the day, all the young people worked construction, etc., to pay their way. Things have changed a lot, but I'm getting old. I read this thing that dishwashers used to be unionized. Like if you wash dishes in the back of a restaurant, you'd be in a union and have pretty high wages. It's so sad what we've lost. And young people are learning about it. Some people alive now still remember it. I remember an anecdote from somebody I just happened to be talking to, who said back in the 70s, they worked in something like Walmart and made like $14 an hour then, and had a house and 2 cars. They were like, worked at the meat counter. That's how things used to be. And it's so sad. And what's to blame for that? So many different things. Going off the gold standard, the Federal Reserve, very much to blame. Immigration too, though. Corporatization of everything. But it's very sad what we've lost. Feminism was basically a psyop in a way, just to convince women that they wanted to work and that they should be working. Now they don't have a choice. Let me show you some economic news since I have it in front of me. Unusual Whale says Gen X may be the first to need a universal basic income after late career job loss due to AI. Yes, it's very hard to get a job when you're older, like my age. I applied for a bunch of jobs, like at Target, Costco, like jobs that should be relatively easy. And they don't call you. And a lot of people say that. It's very difficult to change careers in your 40s, or even like in your 50s, it gets even worse. Like they don't want to hire you. They're not supposed to discriminate, but they do. Universal basic income. I can't tell you how dangerous that idea is, but there may not be an alternative. OpenAI, this tweet from Unusual Whales. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says he's bracing for possible economic headwinds. So they see it coming. That's why he's talking about government bailouts. The October CPI inflation report was canceled. So was the October jobs report. So we don't know what inflation is. And we don't know what jobs are based as far as the government's concerned. Unusual Whale says sellers in the U.S. housing market currently outnumber buyers by about 500,000, the biggest gap on record per Redfin. So we're looking at a possible correction in the housing market, which is totally needed. But it won't make people happy. Joe P says feminism convinced women to marry the government. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit. Once we're provided for by the government, like what incentive is there for us to pair up and have children if all our needs are met? I had a video of with some girl today talking about how she asks men what they can do for her because her life is so full right now of like going to work, working out, and playing games, apparently, doing puzzles, knitting. She's like, what can you offer me? Saw another post of somebody who said they were looking for men that were 6'2" on Hinge. They paid for the Hinge app. They were looking for men who were 6'2" and between 35 and 41 years old, something like that. And they ran out in like an hour. But 6'2", there's a very small percentage of men over 6'2". People are getting picky out there because they don't need it. We don't need each other anymore, I guess. I'll play this video and then I'll go to your questions and stuff and we'll wrap up maybe. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. I'm not monetized because it's right now, so you can't give super chats. So I'm relying on you to go out of your way to support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil or Cash App at $LTV411. I also have Zelle too. Banned from PayPal. Banned from Venmo. But I have those services. And eventually I hope to get this channel monetized. And then maybe they'll treat it better. But I appreciate that. If you do that during the show, I'll read it at the end of the show. I'll still read my coffees before the show's over today. This is a story about education. So students are no longer taught in the classroom. Let me play that.
It's bad. It's really bad. I don't know what's happened to education. It breaks my heart. I've wanted to be a teacher since I was in the 4th grade. Now I'm a teacher and I'm miserable a lot. I love the act of teaching. I love changing students' minds and helping them develop into smart individuals. But I don't do that. I don't get to teach. I spend my day managing behaviors and teaching students how to regulate their emotions. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a behavior specialist. I'm a teacher, and most of my job is managing behaviors. Most of my job is reaching out to admin and parents. That's not what I signed up for, and that's why so many teachers are leaving the profession. I always thought public education would be here. I always thought it would be a good option. I didn't think you had to have money in order to get a good education, but anymore, I'm beginning to think it's done for. I just had a comment and somebody said, education is failing because students are running the classroom and teachers have no authority. And that's true. I just watched a video of a teacher getting pepper sprayed by their student in the school because they took their phone because it was being used to cheat on a test. And there were people defending it. That's crazy. That's really crazy. Happy World Kindness Day. Don't forget that everyone is a human being, even your teachers, and even if they assign you work that you don't want to do, and they spent time making it fun for you. Bye.
So that's the state of our education system, apparently. Well, you can learn everything. You can be taught and tutored by communicating with AI for the most part, but it changes the way you engage. So, but you can learn. You don't need to go to college. So technology, in a way, should dysregulate education in a lot of ways. But people still have to be motivated to do it. But you could talk to an AI and learn a lot. Here's another financial quote. A third of millennials in their early 30s are still being bankrolled by their parents who are paying off their everyday expenses and streaming subscriptions. Boomers are sitting on $82 trillion in wealth, more than twice what Gen X has, and 4 times as much as millennials. And they're not going to be happy when that wealth takes a hit, because the stock market drops and real estate drops, if that ever happens. And I expect their representatives, politicians, to do things to try to artificially pump up those things by printing money, probably. So we'll do a little Q&A. I'll check my coffees here. Some people said they gave me coffees, so I'll show you those. Let's share this tab. I should refresh. Let's refresh. Let's look at coffees. And you can also become a member. William Birkin bought a coffee, says happy belated birthday. Thank you. I'm older, but still feeling okay. Still have my health. Hampson bought 2 coffees. Thank you. Little Round Box, I really want to thank you. Bought 10 coffees. Says they listened to the podcast. I believe I don't know if it's a he or she. Hey, man, I'm listening to you in the morning on the podcast feed. Keep them coming. East Coast puts live in the middle of my nighttime routine. You look good, and I'm proud of you pulling through the suck. Peace, brother. Little Round Box. Thank you. 10 coffees goes a long way. Thank you so much. So those are some coffees, and you can go there to support the show. And there is a podcast. It gets posted every day after the show. I don't make you wait for it. It's at least on Apple Podcasts. So subscribe and rate the show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. If you can give me a 5-star review, that helps. My reviews have gone up, I think. When I was more controversial, I had like 3 stars, I think. I'm almost up to 4 stars, which is good. A lot of people just wanted to hate on me back in the day. But if you want to leave a 5-star review, that's helpful too, I believe. I'm on Apple Podcasts. I'll try to get myself on Spotify too. People can share the thing anywhere. Parody Mike, you have $400,000 in a gold Roth 401k. That's pretty impressive, Parody Mike. Good. You must be a boomer. 400k. Wow. Amazing. Well, make sure you contribute to the show regularly. If it's invested in gold, that's not a bad idea. I definitely recommend that to people. If you need help for some reason, you don't want to ask AI. I do consultations too for cryptocurrency and stuff. If you want to know how to buy crypto gold, which is apparently backed by the real thing and audited and stuff, which is what I'm doing, you can contact me at the show number, which is 650-GAY-TAXI. You can just text me, and we can set up an appointment. And we can do a consultation over the phone. You can pay me for it, but you can also ask Gemini. I'll probably tell you how to do it, but you can buy it. Basically, I can tell you how to buy it so it's not even linked to your identity if you care about things like that. And it allows you to buy fractional amounts. So you can buy like $10 at a time. I think gold is going to be okay. Why is 400K the sign of a boomer? What is the age of a boomer? Well, let's ask. What is the age of a boomer? I'll ask. He's 56. So actually that might be Generation X. I'm not sure. 61 and 79 years of age. So he's not totally there. He says he's 56. So old Gen X. But good job. If I had done better with the money I earned when I was earning a lot of money, I'd probably have that too. I fucked up. I did a lot of stupid things in my youth. Made a lot of money, but spent it on the wrong things. So here we are. But fortunately, I bought some Bitcoin. That helped a lot. Fortunately, I bought cryptocurrency. That did help a lot. So I have a little savings still, which is what I'm using to buy stuff with. But All right. Anybody else? We're doing a little Q&A and then we'll end the stream. And I'll see if I can find any viral clips for shorts using my AI software. We use StreamYard to do the show. If anybody's interested in podcasting might be one of the only jobs. That's what they're saying. What do I think of Joe Rogan's coverage of the election? Is that what you mean by JRE, Joe Rogan Experience? I'm not familiar with his coverage of the election. Not familiar with it. So I can't comment. If that's what you mean by JRE, Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, I don't know how he covered it. I know people are giving him a hard time right now because he says there's cell phone video of people bombing Palestinians, and some Jewish people are saying that those cell phone videos don't exist. There's this one Jewish lady who's talking about they're actually worried about young Jews who are turning against Israel because they see all the dead babies. She's like, we need to ban cell phones for Jewish kids so they don't see the dead babies. You want to see that clip? I'll show it to you. I'll play that clip. We need to ban cell phones for Jewish kids so that they don't turn on Israel, basically, is what she says. Here, I'll play that for you. Here it is.
We're kind of entering a post-literate society. And if like all day long, your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking and like, I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children. Like that's what people are seeing. So when I'm like, yeah, but it's 1.5 civilians they're just seeing carnage.
But
right?
that's
like,
the emotional blackmail.
I mean, fair enough, but like again, I mean that's nice, but like again, I'm hearing that through a wall of screaming children. It's like I think it's a harder argument than we're understanding. So I actually really strongly think that like Jewish day schools should absolutely say no child owns a smartphone until senior year. They don't own one at all. Period. We give it to them senior year and we teach them like this whole not during the day. Great, nice start. No smartphone at all until senior year. Dumb phone, sure. But I think that we've got to like give our kids' brains a chance and their mental health a chance before they start getting really warped.
Warped by pictures of reality. That's so funny. It's like, okay, yeah, we just need to make sure we indoctrinate them with Holocaust education and like talking about masturbation machines and roller coasters and lampshades, gas chambers. We just tell them about that. We don't give them phones so they can do their own research. God forbid. And then by senior year, maybe they'll have their minds made up already and we'll have them fully programmed. She's like, we need time for the programming to set in before they see what we're actually doing in Gaza, which is shooting people in the back of the head while they're trying to get food. There is kind of video. There is that whistleblower. He did have video of it. You couldn't see it explicitly, but that's because they don't allow media inside of Gaza. That's because they banned foreign press and then they kill journalists in Gaza. There's video of that. There's video of them killing journalists and doctors. And then calling them terrorists. Hamas. There's like pictures of Gaza now where they leveled the entire country. Pretty funny argument. But they're worried about young Jews because there were a bunch of Jews that voted for Mamdani. I think they're losing Jews. So that's why you don't want to be anti-Semitic, actually. Truthfully. Like anti-Semitism, like yelling F the Jews at Dave Portnoy, that's not going to do much. Because actually young Jews, apparently, are kind of skeptical of Israel too. Because they've seen what they've been doing in Gaza. So She's like, don't show them that. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me for the show today. Tomorrow, we work 6 days a week. We might take all of Sunday off to watch football, professional football. And then we would come back Monday. And if Monday Night Football is going to be good, we come out a little early at 3 p.m. sometimes. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Hope you appreciate the format, being back to this way exclusively. I did it for you, and we'll keep bringing it. All right. Thanks, everybody. For now, that's what it is.